Good afternoon. Welcome back to session in 2016. And we got off to quite a start today. Unfortunately, today, Democrats took a very obvious vote to delay unemployment benefits for Rangers. That to us is very disappointing. We're a little mystified. The provisions in that bill are non-controversial. They're things that the Democrats have supported and voted for in the past. They didn't even make an argument against them today on the floor. They simply wanted to play politics and play the blame game when what we could have done today was roll up our sleeves and work together. We didn't even get to the bill itself because they wouldn't even suspend the rules to talk about it. So unfortunately, it was a pretty obvious attempt on their part to simply delay unemployment benefits for Rangers. So we could have probably had this bill on the governor's desk in a matter of hours or days at the very latest. And now that will be delayed because of the Democrats' action not to suspend the rules today. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add in on that. Joyce?
Well, no, I mean, it was surprising. We've heard from them for months. It's important to have a special session so we can address this issue. So it's really surprising today that they didn't want to suspend the rules and address the issue. That is a big concern to the Iron Range workers. So I just think we just are surprised.
Yeah. I don't know if facts matter anymore in this sort of environment, but we have a morbidly obese UI trust fund, and this simply would reduce revenues to the trust fund in a smaller amount than the Democrats did. The solvency of the trust fund is way better than when the Democrats did it. They've sent letters saying they are in favor of the blink-off provision. I guess sometimes, when you're in when your caucus is in the political minority, your job is to slow things down, and when you're in the majority, your job is to move things forward. We just never thought that they'd want to slow this down. All they've done is accomplished delaying this a couple of days or maybe a week. Well, I guess we'll continue moving the bill through the process, and we'll schedule it under normal orders and normal votes. But it really is, it's kind of bizarre, and we just don't get it. So with that, you want to take questions?
Sure, yeah, we'll take
Happy
questions.
to take questions.
Is the combination approach a must-have for you guys with the unemployment benefits and the dealing with the UI fund?
Brian, we put this together in a way that would be able to make get the Democrats to agree with us. These are non-controversial provisions. They're opposed by no one. They've been chief authored by Democrats. We have letters from Democrats stating they're in favor of these provisions. So we have to, I guess the question would be, why the reversal in position by the DFL, if there has been a reversal in position?
Mr. Chairman, all of the positioning and so on aside, or the parliamentary maneuvering aside, I should say, what do you say to some number of Minnesotans who will probably interpret this as Republicans trying to get business tax cuts through instead of helping the Iron Rangers right away? What do you say to those folks?
What I say is that who voted in favor of unemployment insurance benefit extensions today, and who voted against it? Someone's trying to move this bill forward, and someone's trying to stop it. It's pretty simple.
Mr. Speaker, did you promise what the Democrats are calling a clean unemployment benefit extension?
No, in fact, they've actually never, to me, expressed that they don't support the other portions of this bill, and that's why we continue to say they're non-controversial. In our discussions in the governor's residence about this during the special session negotiations, Democrats never came forward and said, no, this is not something we should do. The reality is everybody knows that we need to do that, including all of the Democrats. If we take no action this session, there will be $1.8 billion in that unemployment trust fund. Everybody knows we need to take action. And the language we've proposed is non-controversial. Doing something is non-controversial. And this may be the only bill we pass this session related to that. So it just makes sense to do it now.
So you never promised a clean bill, and by their silence, you say they agreed to this one.
I told them, and I talked with one of their members and told them I would be more than willing to separate the two bills and send them through with an agreement side by side. And the agreement had to be that they both pass and they travel on the same timeline. And I'm happy to do that if the problem really is that they just want it clean. We're happy to do that. And that member actually agreed to that and then went and spoke to their leadership. And actually, before he went and spoke to the leadership, I told him if your and he said, this sounds great, let's do it. I told him if your leadership doesn't take this, it's because they want the talking point more than they want to help people on the Iron Range. And I think that's really important. I want folks to remember today that today, Democrats in the House voted to delay unemployment benefits to Rangers. And yesterday, Governor Dayton sent a letter to one of the mining companies that basically is indicating his position to prevent and stop long-term job growth on the range. And the sad reality here is this Governor Dayton, does not support mining on the range. Now, he may say he supports these miners with their extension of unemployment benefits. That's great. We do too. But he does not support the mining industry on the range. And there is a real battle going on right now in Minnesota between environmentalists and between Democrats in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party is controlled by Minneapolis and St. Paul environmentalists who want to stop mining on the range. And that's what the letter yesterday that Governor Dayton sent to Twin Metals indicates. He does not want to let these projects proceed. And I think you can't say that you support mining and miners and then do things that are so blatantly against the industry on the range. And that's really the problem. So, we want to extend the benefits. We think that that's very needed. The other provisions in this bill were absolutely non-controversial. In fact, not a single Democrat spoke out against them on the floor today. All they said was, we want a clean bill. What for? We all know we're going to do this. You all agree that it's the right policy. If we don't do it, we're very nearly to a record surplus, all-time record in that unemployment fund, okay? Right now, there's $1.6 billion in that fund. When Democrats voted for this the last time, they actually gave more relief from that fund, and they did it when the surplus was $1.2 billion. Now, the $1 billion belongs in there, okay? That's the normal amount, okay? They did it with a $200 million surplus and rejected it now in an effort to play politics when the surplus is 3 times greater. And by the way, they gave 50% more relief that last time. So I didn't mean to, on my soapbox, but yes.
I heard you say at one point not too long ago that your caucus could support a clean bill. Is that still true?
Absolutely, but we want an agreement that this other one's going to travel too, because this is important policy as well. We want to get unemployment benefits to the range. I think the question today is, why did Democrats delay it? With a policy in the bill that they actually support, have been on record in supporting in the past, why are they delaying benefits for Iron Rangers today?
Did you not know that it would take a supermajority to pass this and you would
No.
need Democratic votes?
Absolutely we did.
So did you do a lot of advance work on this bill? My recollection is there was a hearing last week and Democrats didn't seem too fond of it. Did you not know the outcome would be obvious?
Well, Rachel, there was bipartisan support in our committee. There was a Democrat who said they were voting for this. Again, I've been in the political minority before, and I understand that sometimes that's your job, is to throw sand into the gears and slow things down. We don't know why they're trying to slow this down. And again, if there was a policy objection, tell us the policy objection. If there's a process objection, tell us the process objection. But to stand up and just pound on tables and use message-tested words because they're upset that Hillary Clinton got spanked in the caucuses by Bernie Sanders, I don't know what's supposed to, that's not our problem.
So you're saying to Representative Anslick that he doesn't care about the people on the range because he
No,
didn't vote
not
for
at all.
this?
No, I think he cares about it, but I think the bigger concern is, why are people voting against policies they're in favor of?
But Rachel's question was, did you do the groundwork with Leader Thiessen or others? Speaker, you said you talked to a Democrat. Did you folks talk to chairman or, I guess, ranking members? Did you talk to the leaders?
I would say I have spoken to Democrats and with Democrats, but I am very reluctant to share those conversations because I'm not going to pull out names. If they want to volunteer their names, that's fine, but it's just not, I don't think it's helpful to have building a relationship of trust.
Did anyone talk to Leader Thiessen about this?
I didn't.
Speaker? Leader?
No, I haven't, but I think it was pretty apparent during the last several months, they continued to want to push for a special session, that this was something that we needed to address right away. And we attempted to do that.
And again, if there is something that we're missing, if the Democrats really didn't vote for this in the past, if they didn't really issue press releases in favor of this, if they didn't really co-sponsor and sponsor the legislation in the past, please tell us why we're wrong.
How can you go by what they did in the past? Things change. Should we hold,
They're not even saying right now, Don, that this provision's controversial. They're not even saying that right now. They haven't said it for the last few months. They didn't say it during special session negotiations. In fact, when it was brought up, in fact, I said at the time, and you'll remember this if you go back and look at your stories, part of this, what was introduced today, brought up today, part of that policy was suggested to me by Senator Bach. And he's the one who reminded me that, oh, well, we did that 2 or 3 years ago. So, I mean, this was so non-controversial that part of it is actually their idea. And I'm ashamed to admit that they're the ones who gave me the idea. We are just shocked that anybody, would vote against this bill today. They voted for 50% more benefits than this at a time when there was 1/3 the surplus available. And everybody knows, I want you to ask the questions now when they come up here, when we leave. I want you to ask the question, do you know that something needs to be done with the trust fund? It has a record surplus in it, and it's projected to go to $1.8 billion by the end of this year. Everybody knows that something needs to be done. Why is it controversial? Because we want to use it to play politics right now. And you know what? Minors' unemployment benefits are not something that we should be playing politics over, period.
you do not go double check with the DFL leaders if they still believed that this is good provision?
Part of it was their idea, Don. These conversations went on all through the special session negotiations. They've never once said to me, this is controversial. In fact, even the member of the caucus that I spoke to said, no, yeah, we support that. And yes, it can pass on its own, travel on its own. But they didn't say they didn't support the policies. So let's not play politics. Let's not start the session out fighting with each other and I understand that that's the role of the minority and they would like to see nothing happen this entire session. But we are going to provide unemployment benefits to Rangers and we're going to extend those benefits and we're going to fix the trust fund this session, period. Both of those things will happen.
Today, what's the takeaway on this first day with the tone of it?
We're disappointed that Democrats today voted to delay benefits for unemployment workers, and we're disappointed that over non-controversial provisions, they decided to play politics instead of putting Minnesotans first in their own districts.
Mr. Speaker, are you playing politics by holding floor session in a closed Capitol?
No.
Are you sure that you're not in violation of the Constitution that says that session has to happen in a public place, and open meeting law, open meeting case law says if you know you cannot accommodate enough members of the public and
Yeah.
you don't choose an alternative location, case law says you're in violation of open meeting law.
I'll let Joyce speak to this too, but this has been in the works since this bill was originally passed. It literally is in state statute that we will have our session in the House chamber. All of the accommodations have been made. It was not us that decided to limit the number of people that were allowed in the building. That decision was made by admin and by the fire marshal, from what I understand. And they are the ones limiting that number in the Capitol. We are trying to make every accommodation to allow the public access and allow the press access to our House chamber. And interesting today, Democrats literally tried to throw the public out of the House chamber. That's what their vote was. They tried to throw the public through a point of order, tried to throw the public out of the House chamber. Thiessen, former Speaker Thiessen, voted for this multiple times. This has been in the works since 2012, I think.
Are you putting anything in jeopardy,
So-
though, if you happen to be in violation of the Constitution and open meeting laws?
It's not.
Well, thank you. I just want to put a little perspective on it. I looked back at this because I know this issue has come up, and we did have 2 votes on this. It said very clearly in the bill that passed that House proceedings will go on as usual. And everyone knows that during a time of construction, there's going to be some situations that make access slightly more difficult. I would like to point out today, too, so we did that in 2013. In 2015, I spoke on the House floor as well. In 2015, there was another vote from the Capital Preservation Committee that did the same thing, that pointed out that we were going to proceed as usual in the House of Representatives. There were DFL members on it. They said nothing. The minority leader got a hold of this, had access to it, said nothing, brought nothing up to me as the Rules Committee chair, no concern when we went over rules last year whatsoever of this. And then finally I passed, and then,
Did we know how few members of the public would have access to the building at all of those previous junctions?
well, I would just say that we don't set that. That's something that's done through the fire marshal and through the department administration. So that's not something that we set. But we also passed a motion, I think it was May 18th, a resolution saying the same thing, reaffirming that we would be conducting House business as usual. And I might just point out too that my understanding is today in the Senate, the Senate session, temporary chamber, they had less access for the public than we did. So, I mean, you can bring the same thing up there.
Did you look into this? Are you aware of law and case law that says if you cannot accommodate members of the public, though, you have to seek another location or you're in violation of open meeting law?
Well, I didn't read any case law on it, I'll say that. But we did provide access to the public. They're the ones that wanted to take the access away today.
Staff or attorneys, though, look into the legality of this?
Well, staff has spent months working on it. The sergeant has been spending months working on making sure there is access, so there is access. So I don't think it's fair to say there's not access.
So you didn't have to set foot into the new Senate office building?
Excuse me?
Did you arrange to be in the Minnesota House because you absolutely did not want to step foot into the new Minnesota Senate building, which they offered to give you space?
No, it didn't play a role at all. There is no cost for us to have the session in the House chamber, period. It was passed in law. Every one of the bids for the construction project always took into account that there would be session in the House chamber. There actually was a cost to do it in the Senate chamber, from what I understand, although we were never offered a specific proposal to do that. We did seek a proposal at the Armory building, and it was, we thought, prohibitively expensive. So we are continuing with what was passed, what Leader Thiessen voted for, and most of the members of the House voted for. I think all of the members of the House, and frankly, continuing with what is in state statute, that we will have our session in the House chamber. And we've got more access to the public in the House chamber than the Senate is offering in their temporary chamber. We've made every accommodation, and we will continue. If there's a problem, certainly talk to us, and we'll be more than willing to work out a solution for you. And I understand with the press, it might have been a little tight today. Normally, we don't have that much press on the House floor, so I'm not sure that it's going to be a problem in the future, but we're excited that you were all there today. So.
Mr. Speaker, on the matter of your personal finances,
Sure.
do you intend to release?
Are all the questions done on the other stuff?
I do have one on.
Sorry, and then we'll go into that.
Just
Yeah.
quickly on process for unemployment. Is it going through all the committees now? How many committees? When could it be back on the floor? And the second question, if the Senate passes a clean bill Thursday, would you take that up?
I don't know if I'd have to get back to you on the actual number of committees it has to go through. I don't know. It has to go the way, obviously if that through Garofalo's committee and through Ways and Means, certainly. I'm not sure if there are other steps as well.
I'll say too, Don, that we were anticipating that this bill was going to pass today. We thought that certainly Democrats would vote to give unemployment benefits to Rangers. So we were a bit shocked that didn't happen, but we'll reassess and come up with another plan.
Mr. Speaker, will you respond to the NPR report which says...
Are we done with everything else?
Your personal finances...
If you want, yeah, I don't know. You can stick around if you want. But anyway.
That said your personal finances, you're having trouble with your personal finances, and you're a guy who talks about the state personal finances and all of that. You have trouble. Will you respond to that?
Certainly.
How they came to be erased?
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. I don't think anybody likes to go through a situation like that. This isn't a recent thing for me. It happened 5 years ago. And it did take me some time to rectify the situation. Luckily enough, I was able to, and I was able to pay off those debts, and I was able to recover from this. And many Minnesotans are hurting and haven't had the opportunity to recover from the recession yet. And I think it really makes me fully aware of the struggles that Minnesotans have. And I, as a legislator, am not immune to those sorts of financial struggles as well. It is certainly an honor for me to serve in the legislature, but it also is a bit of a sacrifice. And I had a second job, and I lost that in the recession in 2011 or 2012, and had some financial difficulties. Had to rearrange my own personal finances. I did that. The story today isn't that I had financial trouble. The story today is that I have taken care of all of that and resolved all of that, and that it was dismissed.
Many Minnesotans have these same kinds of troubles, but they don't have access to lobbyists and to lawyers. So what role did the lobbyists here play in erasing your debt?
Zero. Zero. In fact, thank you for bringing that up. I've read in the stories today speculation, and that's certainly all it is speculation. There is a firm apparently that has a debt collection arm and a lobbying arm. I am quite certain that the debt collection arm had no clue who I was. And the very interesting part of the story is I know that I received no special treatment because I paid every dollar fully. I paid the entire debt in full to that debt collector. So it's you know, there isn't an argument that I received some sort of special treatment because I literally paid it in full.
What about the timing of at least the property tax payment in regards to you paid it, it would appear, when you learned that NPR was doing the report?
You know, and I was unaware of it. The interesting part of that is I actually, on 2 parcels, made a payment late in totaling $68. That was the total of the late payment, and paid a penalty because of that. In the same calendar year, on 3 other parcels of property, I overpaid my property taxes by a total of $1,028. And during last year, I received a refund from the county of $1,028. In fact, I have a 1099 to file my taxes. So in the confusion of that, when I was issued the refund, I believe that smaller amount had been paid, and certainly my mistake. And you know, not because I have financial difficulties, it was simply an oversight. But I literally had overpaid my property taxes by $1,028 over the course of last year and the year before, and was issued a refund from the county for that.
Mr. Speaker, will you release the terms of the settlement and the other debt arrangements you reached, and also the invoices or whatever related to your own lawyer that you contracted with?
You know, I will look into it. I'm not sure that it's necessarily relevant. You know,
pay for your lawyer.
I do. Yeah. So.
Well, where did you get the money if you didn't have a job, you were having financial difficulties?
Remember, this was 5 years ago, so it's taken me some time to take care of this. And it does. When Minnesotans struggle in a tough economy, it does take them some time to recover. And I think, you know, this recovery has been slower, I think, than most Minnesotans expect. The unemployment rate seems low, but it also is because most Minnesotans are underemployed. And I say most Minnesotans, our underemployment rate is over 50%. People are not feeling the benefits of a big surplus like the state is. So I think we all in St. Paul need to be keenly aware of the struggles that Minnesotans have in a recession, and then in a slow recovery from a recession. And I'm not immune to that either. So.
You said that you'll look into it. That's what Hillary Clinton said when they asked her to release her speeches from Wall Street.
You know,
that's almost like I don't think I'll be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I will look at it. I have no idea, but literally the amount was paid in full to that debt collector. You know, and I don't think these are really uncommon things. You know, people run into this once in a while, and luckily enough, and I'm very thankful that I was able to recover and that I was able to pay those debts and take care of them, and I have done that. And certainly not easy to go through the process, but I was able to do it, and you know, using my tax returns and those sorts of things when I had access to resources, I you know, paid them off.
Where was the second job?
You know what? Make the story about me. I worked in the automobile industry, but I don't think it's fair to, you know, start citing.
Just one question
yeah.
for me about this, but we did speak with the debt management counselor who did say how common it is. The discrepancy, I would argue, though, would be the fact that you do preach so often from a government's perspective that the state needs to live within its means. And then you have the public now perceiving that perhaps in your personal finances that wasn't the case. Help them reconcile that. Help them understand, because there are going to be critics on that we absolutely want to share your response.
My financial issue was due to the loss of income, which many Minnesotans have experienced over the course of the last 5, 6, 8 years. That's not uncommon. You know, I don't think that it was necessarily due to my financial mismanagement. And I'm really proud to say that I was able to recover from that and pay those debts back and have taken care of that. And I'm glad that I did. I hope that every other Minnesotan has the opportunity to do that, because I know that Minnesotans have struggled through the recession.
So Speaker, do you worry that this affects your political efficacy or future?
You know, I don't think so. I think, in fact, if anything, it connects me to Minnesotans. This isn't an uncommon thing, and Minnesotans do once in a while struggle. The fact that 53% of Minnesotans are underemployed right now means that a majority of people have probably, maybe some by choice, they're working at a job at a lower skill level or whatever, but many of them were laid off during the recession and took jobs at a lower income or at a lower skill level than what they're accustomed to. So I think if anything, it probably, I know this, it gives me a real appreciation for the struggles that Minnesotans have gone through, and I think that should be valued by Minnesotans, that their leaders aren't sitting in an ivory tower casting judgment on them, that their leaders go through the same thing that they go through, and so, you know, I'm hopeful that they'll have the same opportunity to recover that I have.
Iron Range workers who are out of unemployment benefits, and you guys couldn't get that done today.
Well, and we will get it done, and it's unfortunate that Democrats voted to delay those unemployment benefits, but we will pass them, and we will provide those unemployment benefits, and I've been very consistent about that,
Do
so.
you have a second job now, and if so, what is it?
I do not have a second job.
And you live in Zimmerman? We've been saying Crown all these years.
Technically, my address is Zimmerman, but Crown, it's the same place. Crown is not an incorporated city, and I actually use Crown because a former Senator Rod Grams was also from Crown, so I do it to kind of honor him. But Crown is a little church and a gas station about 5 miles east of Zimmerman, and so I use that just to kind of honor Senator Grams.
Speaker, just to be clear, is this second job second to your being legislator?
Yeah.
So this is at the dealership?
Yeah, it was at
Which you
a
told us that you quit, I think.
automobile dealership.
Didn't you tell us before you quit
No,
it?
I was laid off from the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaker, just to clarify here, at no point did anyone from Messerly and Kramer approach you about vacating
No.
those judgments?
No. Any other questions? Sounds good. Thank you so much.